All right. Hey there. I'm Paulino B. Michael, and welcome to the Flat Out Truth. So, we're going to have a special guest coming, or we are just waiting for them to come in, but we got some things we can talk about before they come in. So, we'll be talking about midwifery and some other things. They know a lot of stuff. So, we're still checking out on the bandwidth. We did add Rumble. I didn't know if you had a chance to adjust that or not.
I did.
You did. All right. It's a little bit better than last time. We're still pixelated, though, on our end. So hopefully our people here at the platform don't get too upset. I think they're happy that we're reaching out. So they're not really complainers around here. So that works out really well for us. Anyway, so let me see if we're on Facebook or not here. You said it should be right here. Maybe I got to refresh it. I got to check out the streams to make sure. We can't check. There we go. Nice. So that's good. All right. So it looks like our guest just got in. We'll make sure we get them invited onto our platform so they can chat. And they should be good to go. Sorry about the video, Jayde and Jacob. It will get better. Especially once we dump the other people. No offense to the people we're dumping. So anyway, there they are. You guys look nice and clear. I do not. Chelsey is hogging up all the bandwidth. So
yeah, it's blurry for us too.
yeah, once we get rid of not get rid of, when we let them go later, Rumble, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook, it'll clear right up. So she's still trying to adjust that since we added that. So how are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Nice. So we're just trying to get everybody, we're trying to get them all set up. But as always, this is for entertainment purposes only, and we do use satire, and these are our opinions. So we love you guys, the other people out here, the other platforms, we love you. So anyway, yeah, I can hear you guys great. So I'm making sure it's my headset this time. It's fine. My headset's fine right now.
Yeah, I got your money.
All right. So we do have some new things we can go over really quickly while Chelsea's setting up. We did launch a new merch store. So we got some merch up, and Chelsey was going to go through that really quick before we get to our guests, make sure they got their things they need to drink and everything like that. And Chelsea's the button's clicking away. She has to get all these platforms together at once. It's crazy. If NASA was what they say they were, it would look like this. NASA. I wonder what that means in any other language. I'm just guessing. Maybe Hebrew? I'm not. I'm pretty sure it means deceive, but what do I know? Anyway, when she stops clicking the buttons, then I can introduce her, and we'll get everything else started. She has to write everywhere. We need to get some mods at some point. Then they can take care of some of that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Can I introduce you now or not?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
All right. Let me introduce my IT guru, my wife, my helpmate. She's amazing. Amazing. And here she is, my wife, Chelsey B. Michael.
All right, I've clicked all the buttons. I have to say hi to everybody. Thanks for coming.
Yes.
And then, of course, as always, make sure to like, make sure to follow, make sure to subscribe, and share that link. So,
And check out the new merch.
yeah,
store.theflatouttruth.com.
that's right.
So simple. So she'll run through that real quick, and then we're ready to go. She's still typing.
Yeah, I have one of our members is asking about our platform.
Nice.
So,
All right.
he's asking because he wants to know if there's a free version or is it paid. Now we do have both.
Yes.
So,
And there's a lot in the free.
there is a lot in the free.
Lot.
You still
There's
have
a
the
lot.
community. You can come watch the live shows for free. And then the premium is watching the unedited in replay. But you can still catch everything, like I said, on YouTube. You can still catch the videos on our platform. So they're totally a free option. So you can check out the community, go meet the members. It's still totally interactive. So
Yeah. So when we're talking to this with this interview, so we'll go on 30 to 40 minutes,
Yep.
and then if you guys want to know more about these two, they're amazing. We talked way too long last night, but I loved it. It was like a couple hours, 3 hours. It
The
was
pre-interview
wonderful.
was a whole interview.
Yeah, it was a whole interview, and it was amazing. So these guys have a lot of knowledge, a lot to give. And if you guys want to keep continuing this after 30, 40 minutes, we're going to drop off of the main platforms, and we will be just on the flatouttruth.com. So it'll be exclusive with these two. And they have, like I said, they have a lot to give, a lot to share, and they want to help people. And that's that's why we asked them to be on. So here we go. We're going to show the merch store, and then we'll go on to these guys really quick. Everybody, I'm trying to build up the
All right. I got to make sure I click my right button. Boom.
Did you? There you go.
So there we go. Just as this is one of our posts on our platform, and this is part of the free version. Our curiosity community is part of the free version, so you can access this. And we just posted Paulino's beautiful merchandise. He designed it all, and I'm working on the fun description that are soon to come. So we can check out our store, and you can see here also we've embedded, this is our link from Facebook. And heading over there, you can check out all our fun merch. We've got hats. We've got sweatshirts. We've got
Tumblers.
tumblers. I was like, drink things. Tumblers. We've got more hats. We've got a lot of hats, which is totally understandable.
Oh, I love hats.
I know. We've got t-shirts. We got phone cases. We've got them. I think these are for both Apple and for some Samsungs. Trucker hats, this is my go-to. I love the dual color trucker hats. I have a teal one that I really want to get.
Yeah, that's the one that's got all of our brand colors. So
Yep.
that's our we call it the multicolor.
Yep, this is an example of the multicolor.
I love that hat, man.
It actually turned out really
That
good. I
green
was
hat is
surprised, but it
fire.
looks great.
Yeah. I'm going to end up with 100,000 hats.
I know. He has so
I like hats and
many
hats and shoes. Hats and shoes.
Hats and shoes. All right.
All right, we're back. All right, so that's it. If you guys want to check it out, go to store.theflatouttruth.com.
That is right.
Or go to our platform, join there, become a member, and the links are all in there. Our links are everywhere right now. So here we go. I'm excited. This is going to be good. I've been waiting all day for this. So let us introduce these guys. So you got Jacob and Jayde, and Jayde is a midwife.
Yep.
So these guys, where do you guys live? Arkansas, right?
Yep, we're from Arkansas, Clinton, Arkansas. I'm from Michigan, so this is where we are now. And Jacob is from California. Yep.
All right.
Yep, we met online and just transplanted here together.
Nice.
3 years ago.
Yeah, because it had to be, because actually Jayde was still in training of being a midwife, and she actually helped with our son, and he's now over 3.5. And
Yeah,
that's when
so
she had met this guy. She's like, I met this guy. He's amazing.
And that was perfect. I had just met him.
Yeah. So it's been a
And
minute.
I was at birth, and I said to Paulino that they would probably get along, him and Jacob.
Yes.
They have a lot of the same beliefs and conspiracy thoughts.
Hey, a lot of that conspiracy is becoming a conspiracy fact now.
No, yeah, I don't even like it. Most
Yeah.
of it is just fact.
Yeah. We know. All right, so you have any questions for them, babe?
Yeah, so to start off, we want to get your starting story. So, which is kind of fun because we're a little bit a part of it when you started student teaching, so you can start there if you want to, and how you became a midwife.
Yeah, so a lot of midwives will say that midwifery was like a calling for them, but I don't know if it was like that for me. For me, when I had my first baby, was it 16 years ago now, I didn't know what a midwife was. I didn't know what a doula was. I just wanted to go to the hospital. I wanted to have a standard medical birth. I wanted to get an epidural. I was afraid of the birth process. I wanted all the drugs. I was young, and so I went into it like, the doctors are going to teach me what I need to know. They're going to tell me what to do, and I'm just going to go there and get the medication and have a baby, and then I'm going to breastfeed like you're supposed to and go home and everything's going to be great. And, you know, I was none the wiser at the time, so it wasn't terrible. I didn't have an awful experience, but it could have been better. And at the time, I didn't know it, so it was whatever. But that's not how it was. It's not how the hospital is. I didn't know how to breastfeed because they didn't help me. They didn't teach me. I did get the medication. It didn't work, and so I was disappointed about that at the time. But I went home and I was like left by myself, not knowing what to do with my baby. And you know, there's no postpartum care in the hospital. You just kind of get sent home with this little baby and you don't know what to do. And so the next time I had a baby, I just had like a different community of friends around me, of women, and they told me that I should get a doula and I should have a natural birth. And when they told me that, I said, no, I would never do that. I don't need to be a hero. I want the medication. You know, birth is scary and hard and painful. And I ended up doing some research after that, and I watched a documentary. It was called The Business of Being Born, and it's about birth in America and how it's a big business. It's like anything else in America, really. And it just kind of blew my mind, and I got a doula in training. You know, she was like a free doula. She came to the hospital, helped me. I had an amazing natural birth in the hospital, and I just right after that I thought, this is what I want to do for women. I want to help them have this experience. And so I took my newborn to a doula training in 2012, and I became a doula right away. I did my first birth when she was 6 months old, and I've been doing that ever since. But after about 4 years, 5 years working in the hospital, I just got really burnt out of seeing how women and babies were treated. I learned more, and as I learned more, things got worse for me. It was almost like traumatizing going to the hospital with these women, and you know, seeing what was said to them and what was done, and knowing that there was a different way, but I couldn't speak up and say anything. And a couple times I did speak up, and I would get kicked out of the hospital. So I just was done with that, and I thought, I wonder if I could become a midwife and just work in the home. You know, it's harder, it sounds scary, I don't know if I could do it. And I just made a Facebook post in 2016, and a local midwife in Michigan reached out and said, you know, come meet with me, and we'll see if you're a good fit. So I went and met with her, and she said, we're about to pass licensure in Michigan, so you need to go back to school and get a degree to be a midwife. Because at the time we were in Michigan, we didn't have a licensure. We didn't have any rules to practice in the home, so we were sort of underground. But you know, I actually prefer that. But that's another story. So I had to go to school to become licensed, and that's what I did. And then in midwifery, there are 3 phases that you have to be supervised under. So when I met Paulino and Chelsey, I was in the 3rd phase, which is your primary under supervision phase. So I was their primary midwife at their birth, under supervision of another lovely midwife there in Michigan. And yeah, shortly after that, I moved to Arkansas and finished my education here, and then became licensed in 2023.
Now, he's so patient. He's got so much knowledge. You guys don't even know. That shows, yeah, it shows your discipline, man. It just shows you that you know he's great. He's doing really well. Now, then he comes in, and this guy, it's just like you guys are just made. I mean, you're getting into the truth movement, and that's why you know with the whole midwife, and then this guy. It seems like he fits you just right. So, what did you think about it, Jacob?
Well, you know, I was a widower, and my previous wife had wanted to become a midwife, and we had a similar experience where we were traumatized with our first 2 births. We never had a hospital birth, but the prenatal care experience with our first doctor, I'm sure that everybody has horror stories, but essentially after the very first exam, the doctor said, the first thing out of his mouth, he said, you won't be able to deliver a baby over 6 pounds because your pelvis is oval shaped. And this was our first baby. Had no clue what was going on. All we knew was that the guy was abrasive, and we didn't like his personality. We didn't find out until maybe several years later that that statement was setting us up for a C-section, and we were just very frustrated. And we ended up going on to have 2 midwife births, 4 unassisted home births, and by then we were educated. And 2 of our babies were over 10 pounds. We had a couple 9-pounders, 8.5 pounds. So basically, that guy was just full of hot air, you know. And
Yeah.
It's a common thing that they say.
and then we also witnessed a lot of our family and friends having babies, and they would be told the exact same script that we had heard, only it didn't result the same. They resulted in C-sections, and the babies would be 5 or 6 pounds. And so we began to see this spirit of fear being pushed on people, and that's when we recognized it was a business as well. And so me having that background with my children, and then coming across Jayde, who's almost completed with midwifery school, that was one of many confirmations that she was a good fit for me, because when we would talk, it would be like we were speaking the same language.
Yeah, I can talk to him about midwifery, and he
Yeah.
knows from a birth.
I'm not at her level, but
But I can bounce things off of you,
yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, well, what about this? What about this? And I'm like, yeah, oh yeah. You reminded me.
And you know, the way that we set up this business is as a partnership, because I have a background in financial services, and I was self-employed for many years, and so I can help with things that she's not skilled in. And then obviously she's the midwife, but having me there, even if it's just as an assistant to, I don't know, like load up the heavy things,
Yeah.
or empty the water birth pool,
Or pray with dads.
yeah, or just sit with the dads and keep them company while they're nervous, you know, and I can tell them about my past experiences. So there's a very small place for me as an assistant or a helpmate, but even like studying, when you were studying, we would I helped her study a little bit.
Yeah, he helped me study for the big tests you have to take to get licensed.
Nice.
So it's been a joyful experience for us, and it fits our lifestyle of because we have a lot of kids ourselves. We have 10 together, and yeah, I don't know. It's just been a blessing, and it's also, I think, a necessity in this current climate in which we live, where the medical system is becoming a mafia, in my opinion, and we have other nightmares that we probably won't go into. We may not have time, but
Yeah, we might.
we'll see. But I've had a number of traumatizing experiences that have shaped how I see the system, and I really I have a lot of righteous indignation, and I'm thankful to be a part of the solution. I'm excited to see that some doctors are departing from the mainstream system, and they're beginning their own practices, especially after COVID. There's a lot of awakening going on. Sorry. Yeah.
I know you're fine.
Never mind.
Yeah, you're good. No, it's fine. No.
Oh, no,
it's
you're
all right.
good.
You're good. So
But
yeah, I know
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
We know a lot of people, outside, and we're not even into, like, we're not doing midwifery ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
but we talk to a lot of people. We know a lot of people that have babies, and it does
Why
seem
do you
like,
guys have a home birth? You know, like you
Yeah.
guys had your first baby at home.
yeah,
Yes.
and then we had another one at home, and now we're gonna have our third one at home.
Yep.
But yeah, it's strange when they start telling somebody your baby's really big, so you got to do a C-section, and then the baby comes out 6 pounds.
Yeah.
Yep.
'Cause
You
they
know,
just don't know, and it
yeah.
just shows how they lie, to make it convenient for themselves. And that's becoming more and more of a problem in America in general. The C-section rate is, I don't know, 50 or 60%.
Yeah, I actually looked that up in Michigan. Some of the rural areas, they're more like 30%, which is still pretty high. But all of the cities, especially like the Troy area, Lansing area, they're all 50% C-section.
Yeah. And Arkansas is actually one of the worst in the country for C-sections and just morbidities in birth in general.
Yeah, there's
It's like really unsafe to have a baby here
the
because
health of people here is not great.
the health is not great of people here, and the prenatal care is really lacking. And then there's a lot of inductions happening. There's a lot of inductions, and those obviously lead to C-sections more often. So
Yep.
Yes.
So we're not doing great for birth here. And we're really rural, and we also don't have a lot of hospitals. It's really weird. So the midwives here are really, really spread out. So we serve areas that are humongous. Like I drive up to 2 hours to people's births, and that's just normal. So I recently got office space to take clients and do prenatals there, which helps me see more people every day.
Nice.
People that I do office visits because I have to drive so much in this state. But
And do births there, so.
yeah, and I can't do births there, so I do them at home, which is better. I like that anyway. But the point is, you have to travel really far to go to your visits here in the state. You have to travel really far to go have a baby. So it's just the prenatal care is lacking, the hospital care is lacking, and that's why they do a lot of inductions, I think, too, is just to plan it all out. But there's not enough midwives here in the state doing births, and I hope that that improves eventually.
I hope the laws improve. They
Yeah, the
seem-
the rules here are really
the
restrictive.
more that we learn, the more concerning it is, and it seems like some of the laws are not even based upon
Evidence.
evidence-based
Yeah.
care, and it's old laws that are based upon just information that we know is false.
We've had licensure here in Arkansas, the rules, since 1986, I believe. So a lot of our rules are just really outdated.
There is a couple midwives working on it, but it seems like hospital births are big business, and just like the tobacco industry or any industry, pharmaceutical industry, they have a lot of pull with politicians.
Yes.
So it's an uphill battle. I don't know if it's going to be won, but it's a righteous fight, and someday we'll probably get involved with that to some degree. I don't know
Yeah.
how or where, but we know a couple people that are involved, and yeah, I mean, it's really sad how women are being treated. Really, like this should be such a joyful experience. It should be wonderful, but when it becomes a nightmare, I mean that limits how many children you have as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like it sort of feeds the narrative that children are a burden, which I find that to be anathema. I always think of children as a blessing.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be fruitful and multiply, so that speaks against that when you have this negative outlook on birth.
Right. If you're sick and you're not trained, you're ignorant, and all these different factors play into your pregnancy, then it's like you're being set up for failure by your own ignorance and by the lack of help. Yeah. And then once you're stuck, it's like there's almost like PTSD for a lot of women. And so even if they want to have more children, there's this fear.
They remember that birth experience.
And even men are afraid. How many clients have you had? Like, I would say one of the biggest hurdles is sometimes it's convincing the husband.
Yeah, I get a lot of clients in consults, before we meet, and they'll say, I really want to have a home birth, but my husband is afraid. My husband doesn't know all the possible emergencies that could happen, and you're going to have to convince him, which I love to do. That's always fun for me, doing consults and convincing dads, because every time I have a meeting with a dad, they say, I feel so much better now. Yeah. I feel like we can do this. I don't feel scared, and that is a huge blessing for me.
And the questions they're very easy, very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always like, no, you guys, I get these questions all the time.
So what do you guys think? Do you guys think, this is the research I might want to get into, is when did the protocol change at the hospitals? Because you guys got to know, right? They started making it more business-like. So then they got to do like turning tables at a restaurant, right? And they make more money when they have it set up like XYZ, you're coming in at this time, the procedure will turn into, they make more money off of a C-section than a natural birth. And so there must have been a change in a protocol that other insurance companies and hospitals just adapted. Somebody must have started it somewhere in the U.S. and seen that it was profitable, and then it just spread. That's my opinion.
Yeah, because we actually have, like somebody in Facebook had mentioned, like, was it a costly medical procedure? And that's one of the things I remember talking to the midwife, is that difference, which I'll have you, explain, is the prenatal care for the midwife was fantastic. Like, you're there the whole time. They answer all your questions, all your fears, and they stay with you the whole time, tell you what to expect, what not to expect. And then the cost was like people that go to a hospital and get a C-section with or without insurance, either way. I mean, without insurance is usually worse. And getting a midwife, they're like, oh my gosh, how much do I have to pay? Do I have to pay out of pocket? And it's not a lot of times as much as the hospital.
No, not even close.
It's never. Yeah, even a regular birth at a hospital was going to cost you 10 to 15 grand.
And that's without anything.
Without anything.
Without
C-sections are
medications.
obviously sometimes double that. A midwife is going to cost you 25% of that.
Well, and it's interesting too because the insurance companies won't pay for your home birth, and it's so much cheaper. So why not? You know,
Yeah.
what's the deal there, right? But yeah, it did become big business. I want to say it was. I'm really bad with timelines, but back in the 20s, 30s is when we moved birth into the hospital, and it was this. It was who are the people that started all the universities? The Rockefellers.
Yeah.
It was
Rockefeller Medicine.
Rockefeller Medicine did
putting
it.
People on the boards.
Yeah.
Creating medical schools.
You know, because there's midwives in the Bible, and
Yeah.
midwifery is, centuries
Ancient,
old,
yeah.
and it's an ancient tradition. It's been passed down. All the skills that we have have been passed down, and actually, when birth moved into the hospital, the midwives at the time in America, they called them granny midwives. There were a lot of black midwives from slavery. And they were doing it, on the plantations and everything. They were birthing the babies. And so they hired them to teach the obstetricians how to do birth in the hospital. And then after they did that, the obstetricians, the people that started the universities, ran a smear campaign against midwives. And they turned around and said midwives are dirty, incompetent, unskilled. They don't know what they're doing. So we must move birth into the hospital because it's unsafe to do it at home. So that started, and then birth in the hospital climbed from about 1% to where it is now. It's at about 96%.
Wow.
That's
But the
way higher than I
protocols have been
expected.
changed
Wow.
over the decades.
But yes, the protocols have been changed over the decades. The obstetricians obviously did used to have a little bit more skill because the granny midwives taught them the skills. They taught
Yeah.
them how to do emergencies in the hospital, like shoulder dystocias and breech birth. And now the hospitals do not know how to do breech birth. That has been a skill that has been phased out. So if you're having a breech baby, it's actually safer to do it at home because your midwife knows how to do it and your obstetrician does not, and they can totally screw it up. And it can be unsafe for the baby. So they're just taught to go immediately to C-sections. So the big difference between midwives and obstetricians today in modern times is that an obstetrician is a trained surgeon and a midwife is not. So
And there is a time and a place for that.
yes, there is a time and a place for that. We handle normal birth and pregnancies. So since we're trained in that normal pregnancy and birth, we know exactly when that steps outside of that. So we know when to transfer a woman. We know when, it's time to go to the hospital. So, that's how all birth should be, is we use the obstetrician when it's time, and when it's not, we stay at home. Or we practice in the hospital, whatever anyone is comfortable with, but it's not that way now. Midwives can't practice freely in a hospital. CNMs can practice in a hospital, CPMs can practice at home, but CNMs are under the hospital protocols. So they're basically obstetricians. And a lot of women don't know the difference in that either. When they go to a hospital birth, they think, well, I'm going to have a CNM, it's going to be a different experience. And it is to a point, but it's not the same as being at home. That's a different world.
Yeah. Now you mentioned the Bible, and it's really interesting because we know in the Bible, like you're not supposed to circumcise until like the 8th day because of vitamin K, the blood clotting, and modern science, right? They have foregone that, right? But it's funny that it's in there. So biblically, they already knew, like Moses knew, when to do that. And so, like I know with us, we waited and we got a moyo.
He was nice.
He was really nice. He drove from Livonia
Yep.
over here,
Yep.
and the funniest part is that he's talking about Seinfeld. Because there's a Seinfeld episode when they had the moyo, so it's pretty funny. Anyway,
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure you guys had a good experience with it.
Yeah, I have two different experiences, or two categories of experiences.
Yeah.
My first 3 boys, we did it as well. Thought I was educated, but I wasn't fully. You sometimes don't know that until after you've been educated, right? And our last son, I decided not to. And so there's, I don't know if you want to go into that topic,
The
but
biblical reason.
yeah, the biblical reasons. Obviously, I think that God's not setting people
Tell her to
up
go
for
to-
failure. That
It is interesting to go into medical too.
Right, I understand. So one thing that I never had considered was that circumcision today is not being done the way that it used to be back in 3,000 years ago, and that there's more damage or risk of damage to the boy's private parts basically, and
his mental,
yeah,
what he experiences.
and so what happened with my my third son was we couldn't get him an appointment, and he was older, and it was very traumatizing, and I don't want to do that again. And yeah, I think that it really isn't necessary for the faith, and so I wonder why are we putting them through that risk? And I didn't think that the risk was significant until after I had done some more research on what was the statistics that we looked at.
Well, we were talking about the reason that babies are not born with vitamin K. So the vitamin K injection, I guess we could say,
Yeah, that was a theory.
on the censored version. We're told that we need it within 24 hours of life. All babies need it, but I think there's a reason that 0 babies are born with vitamin K. Why did they all survive before we came up with this injection? Well, we had a theory for a little while, and then after our theory, it came out that was true. But it's because vitamin K is a clotting factor, so it clots the blood. When you're born, you have to switch over from water breathing to air breathing pretty quickly. So you need that blood to circulate through the body. So the baby is born, and they need that blood to flow through their body pretty quickly, right? So if they have that clotting, they have tiny vesicles. If they have that clotting factor, that blood will not flow like it should. So within 24 hours, we're giving that to babies, and we're giving them an adult dose, which is a lot of vitamin K, and then it clots their blood.
So imagine the tiny vesicles in the brain that aren't getting that proper blood flow, potentially. That was our theory, and then it was we found one study that was confirming, at least alluding to that as a confirmation. So, but we were talking about the circumcision.
So the circumcision, you need it if you're going to do it before 8 days because you need the blood to clot. If you're going to cause the baby to bleed. If you cause the baby to bleed and you don't have that clotting factor, then the baby could bleed out. And that does still happen. The statistics are about 225 babies a year bleed out and die from just circumcision. Because I don't know, maybe the clotting factor didn't work, maybe the vitamin K didn't work, maybe they didn't get it, who knows. But that's why they definitely require it in the hospital if you're going to circumcise. So if you're waiting for 8 days and you're using a moil and you're doing it at home, yes, the baby has their vitamin K. It's the highest. It peaks at 8 days. And yes, God knew that, so he said 8 days. So that's really interesting.
Oh yeah, it's I think most people don't realize that. Like, they just pass it. Any people that read the Bible or go to church, most of the time they don't realize that happens. Like, they just go right past and don't realize like it's mentioned in the Bible.
It's also scientific.
And it's scientific.
Yeah, it's scientific. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's facts, not fiction.
Yeah.
It's the flat out truth.
Yeah. It's a weird coincidence.
So anyway, we can finish up here, right?
Yep.
And we'll just be going to our platform. So you guys don't have to do anything. You guys just stay here.
You just hang out.
You just hang out there. All their information will be in the bios. Chelsey will do everything she can to get all the links. And if you want to do a little shout out of where they can reach you guys, where you're at, and then we'll put it in the chat.
Well, you can reach me on my website. It's countitalljoymidwifery.com. And my email is just Jayde@countitalljoymidwifery.com. I'm on Facebook, countitalljoymidwifery, and Instagram, countitalljoy_midwifery.
All right. So you guys just sit tight, go to the bathroom, take a drink, because we're going to go on a little hiatus here before she's writing all her stuff. Just say goodbye to everybody. So, okay, TikTok. So, sorry, guys. If you guys want to see more of these guys, you got to jump on our platform. TikTok, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook. If you want it, you got to go where we go. That's where the action's at, right? We're unchained at theflatouttruth.com, and we just want to bring you guys everything uncensored. We can dive into other things that we might not be able to speak about on these other platforms. No offense to them, they do what they do. It's theirs, not mine. I don't make the rules. So, anyway,
I got one thing you can talk about while I finish typing.
What is it?
What's the biggest myth that you have for midwives? Like, because I'll ask this question a little later, but it's like the difference between the midwife and the OBGYN. We'll ask that in the on our platform. But what's the number one biggest myth that you have about midwifery?
Well, I think the biggest myth is just simply that midwifery care and obstetrician care are the same in general, and they're not. Or that it's dangerous to have a baby at home, of course. That's obviously the biggest thing. You know, we can't handle emergencies at home, and only obstetricians can handle emergencies in the hospital. There isn't time to get to the hospital if there's an emergency, and just a midwife can't handle any of it. And it's not true. We can handle most emergencies in the home. We can resuscitate babies in the home, and we're actually trained the same way that all of the nurses are in the hospital to do it. We can handle bleeding emergencies. We can handle babies being stuck. We can handle breech birth. We can handle twin birth. We can handle all these things at home. The only thing we can't do is C-sections. And we don't want to. We want to send you to a medical
Depending on the
professional when
state,
you
there
need
might
it.
be limitations. But,
Yes.
you know, every state has different laws.
Yes. Every state has
obviously.
different laws.
We don't need to go into all the details. of
But
that.
also midwifery care, the prenatal care. I think that a big myth is that the prenatal care is just one and the same. But anybody who has ever had a baby at a hospital knows when they go to see their OB, their appointment is 5 minutes or less. They wait in the waiting room for an hour, and then they go in and they ask no questions. They don't know what to say to their OB. If they even have questions, they don't know. So the OB just is in and out, listens to baby. You're doing well, great, good job, go home. And a midwife will spend in upwards of an hour and a half to 2 hours with you each
Per
time you
appointment.
see her.
And
Yeah,
How many appointments do you have?
per appointment, and that's the same OB schedule with midwives. It's every 4 weeks up until 28 weeks, and then you do every 2 weeks up until 36 weeks, and then you see her every week until your baby is born. So every single appointment, I spend an hour and a half to 2 hours with my clients. We get really close. We study everything that she needs to know. We talk about postpartum. We talk about what to expect during labor, birth. We do blood work. We check on baby. We do vitals. We talk about nutrition a lot. Nutrition is a big thing with
Run
midwifery.
things by another CNM.
Yep, we have partners that we can talk to. We can consult with if it's something that's out of our scope. I have a CNM partner that I consult with, and she can do prescriptions, that kind of thing. I can send my ladies to get an ultrasound, just anything she needs. But our biggest focus is nutrition. We talk about stress. We talk about how you're coping with your stress because that's a big deal in pregnancy. You don't want to be stressed. Biggest cause of miscarriage is stress. So we deal with hormonal issues. That's a big issue for miscarriages and just general well-being. So yeah, the biggest myth I think
So
is
many
just the
myths.
prenatal care. Yeah, there's so many, but the prenatal care is really lacking in OB care, and it's really sad because that's why we have a lot of the outcomes that we do. A lot of preeclampsia, a lot of diabetes, lots of just a lot of health issues that we can totally prevent them with nutrition counseling.
All right. That's a good way to end it.
That is fantastic.
All right,
That's
so
perfect.
we will continue this on the flatouttruth.com. I know it's like beating a dead horse, but if you want to continue and listen to more, and he has so much, he's been quiet. He's ready.
He's ready to
He's
go. He's
ready.
holding himself back.
Yeah, he's taking notes. Yeah, he's a good guy, man. I just met him last night, and it feels like I've known him for all my life. It's pretty funny. So anyway, we'll be leaving here, guys. See you TikTok, see you Rumble, see you YouTube, and see you Facebook. If you want to see us, like I said, flatouttruth.com, and you guys
Don't-
do not go anywhere.
Yep. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and or follow, and share the Flat Out Truth.
There you go. All right, see you guys. Be safe, be blessed, and that's the Flat Out Truth.
What?
I know. She's like,
You cheated.
All right. All right. I'm Paulino B. Michael.
I'm Chelsey Michael.
And as always, be safe.
Be blessed.
And that's the flat out truth.
She was like, what?